So it appears that I am in the hard minority about my opinion on narratives in the NBA and the state of NBA basketball. Hi guys, I've been waiting for the right time to put this video out or to make this video, and NBA opening day starts tomorrow or probably when this comes out. So I figured this is a great time. Let's do it because as we all know, there are a lot of negative narratives and negative opinions that go around about today's game. And as I mentioned in my video yesterday talking about Super Bowls, I think it came out yesterday, I kind of segued into this topic. The ones who watch the least usually have the most negative things to say, and that's because their eye test when watching the game is simply just video clips, quick video clips on social media. Never would it be the full 48-minute game or even just a full highlight video. And the problem with that is the normal shit that happens in the game is not going to be in those clips, right? Like the average possession, right, of, you know, whatever happens on said possession isn't going to be a highlight, right? So they never see the average possession. And so a lot of these narratives are just misconstrued, and it's just simply the issue that nobody watches basketball anymore. Nobody actually sits down and watches the full games anymore, right? And the ratings kind of show it. Now, I know a lot of people probably just on Stream East, so we don't get all the ratings. And I'm with you. I don't even know if I'm about to buy League Pass this year. And so when it comes to my stance on the issues that I'm about to talk about, right, I have to ask myself, like, am I being biased because this is my era of basketball and I want to defend it, right? Or not. And here's the thing, bro. I'm a casual. I'm not an expert, so I do have to question myself. But what I do know is that I watch the sport a lot and I watch every team and I know what I see, right? So I'm not just saying shit just to say shit. And so, like, when we get into talking about things such as like the differentiation of eras, right? There are full games of just about every single era on YouTube, full 3-hour broadcast, commercials and all, that you can sit down and watch, right? And then you can go watch a live 48-minute game in today, and if you just paid attention to the different things, you would understand that you give and you take certain things in each era, right? Like basketball is still basketball. It's a very different style of play, but for everything that makes it easier in one era, there's something that makes it more difficult in the other. And so the main narrative that I probably will talk about in this video is defense in today's NBA. All right, this is the big one that has to do with the eye test and actually watching the game and really paying attention to how defense is played and how people move on the basketball court nowadays. So I saw a video on Throwback Hoops of Allen Iverson going for like 50 in the early 2000s, and the guy in the comment section was having the realization finally, which if you had just already tuned into games from this era, you would see that the game was played significantly slower back in the day, right? Because less people could shoot and less people could take people off the dribble, which led to less spacing and having to slow down and run half-court sets. Simple. And so the counter narrative that I have, and this guy had the realization, was that it's not that there's not defense in today's NBA. It is, one, the rules of the game, and two, how skilled everybody is. That makes it so difficult to guard these teams, mainly the spacing and the fact that everybody can shoot. If you watch an NBA game today, first of all, the number of possessions in an NBA game today has increased drastically, which means more running up and down and more condition and more cutting, more change of direction, hence more non-contact leg injuries in this game. But if you made a skip pass, right, in a half-court set in the 90s or the early 2000s, right, you don't have to sprint out there. Okay, first of all, skips weren't made a lot, and it was made more or less to set up the big on the opposite side post. But you got to understand that in today's game, the big can be in the corner ready to spot up. Regardless, the amount of times that a skip pass is made in a half-court set in today's NBA, like if you watched a possession, count it and count how many times the defense has to shift over. Not to mention, there's more leniency in the rules with dribbling, right? It's harder to guard people because you can't hand check as much, and the court is actually just physically bigger. They push the three-point line back. Sometimes they show closer angles of, like, I remember watching, like, they had a cam that was like following James Harden down the court, and he's like right over him. Dude, the amount of space that guy has when he goes into isolation to work, nobody in their right mind can stay in front of that. And so the only way to guard people in today's NBA is to rotate, right? Like, you can't guard people straight up one-on-one. Even when you are able to stay in front of people, right? Like, their bag is so deep and they're so skilled, they're just going to shoot over you, especially the best players in the league. So anyway, the guy having the realization that it's not that there's no defense in the NBA, it's just that players are crazy skilled in this generation, which makes sense, right? That the game would continue to evolve, right? Because people want to be the best of the best. And when you have a big man that can stretch the floor out, you know how much harder it is to guard? And someone was like, well, you ever think that maybe they look more skilled because of the lack of defense? Other way around, buddy. The defense looks so lackluster because of the skill set. And I'm not going to sit here and argue that regular season defense is as intense as it used to be, but you got to understand, bro, in an 82 game season, at the pace at which this game is played and the amount of possessions, bro, like, there's going to be a lot of defensive breakdown, especially with the rules of the game being what it is. And that's the one narrative that people do have right, and my thing is the inconsistency of the rules of the game. It's so hard to call fouls in real time because of how strict the rules are. To me, what I think they needed to do is rid of any like body contact that isn't like going forward or knocking the guy off his spot, like type shit. As long as it's not a hip check, let it go. You know what I mean? Like, just call the hand shit. Like, that's what I would do. But I'm a Magic fan, and so one thing that they do is play really fucking hard, right? And you know, they play teams like the Heat 4 times a year, and those teams play defense. They rotate very, very hard, and they still let up a lot of points a game. And so some of these replies, right, that are just crazy, just exposing that people don't watch the game, right? Somebody said Jaylen Brown got paid over $300 million and can't dribble with his left. Fuck out of here saying that the NBA is more skilled. Bro, have you watched Jaylen Brown play? He is one of the most difficult shot makers in NBA history. The amount of turnaround middies contested that he makes in a game, bro. Are you serious? If anything, it's way more impressive that he can average what he does on the efficiency that he does without a left hand. But again, that information just simply comes from watching the game. And even with the fouls narrative, there's a narrative that like, oh, every possession is just a foul. No, it's really not, bro. Like, there's still a lot of fluency. Like which one is it, right? Are we not playing defense, or is everything a foul? Because most possessions end in a shot within 10 seconds of the shot clock, because everybody on the court can score, right? So it's so easy to get a guy a look that is an open look for him. Now, the defense I have for the older generations, right, is that if you put them in this NBA, they would adapt to the game, right? To the leniency of dribbling and the improved ball skill, right? And the added bags and whatnot that people have. It's also really easy to tell, like, who didn't play basketball and who did. Like, I understand that there are travels that are gotten away with a lot in the NBA, but motherfuckers do not know what a gather step is. How do y'all not know what a gather step is, bro? You can take a step until you put 2 hands on the ball, as long as you don't carry, bro. That's kind of what a gather step is. So if I take a long dribble, and as long as that ball is on its way back up to my high dribble position into my hand, I can take as many steps as I want until I put my other hand on the ball, and then I have my 1-2. And like, flopping is another narrative, right? Like, flopping is prevalent in this NBA, right? But hey, how prevalent is it really? Like, how many possessions out of a game does somebody flop? According to people who don't watch basketball, every single possession. And also, the hypocrisy of hating flopping is that people want these players, like, they think they don't want to win nowadays, right? But then when they find loopholes in the rules of the game to help them win, high IQ plays, which is, you know, really what flopping is until they fix it, people get mad, right? Because yes, it's not an appealing thing to the game, right? It should be, the rules should be taken out, and then they put something in that said if you flop, right, it's a tech or something like that, which is great. But I thought you guys wanted these players to only want to win. Like, I thought all these players were just selfish and cared about their stats and accolades. But then when they do things like that, it's soft, or, you know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't make it's hypocritical. It's hypocritical. That's all I can say. Now, the main thing that is very much softer with the game today is the techs and stuff like that, like in the flagrants. That needs to be taken out. But I think everyone also thinks that, like, people were just getting mauled on every single play in the 90s, bro. Like, if you watch the game back then, the same ticky-tack fouls that were getting called today were still getting called. Like, a foul was a foul. If you got hit on the arm going for a layup, in any fashion, that was still a shooting foul back in the 90s. And again, why do we have so many more injuries when we have modern medicine and people are sitting out games? Because the game's faster. It requires you to cut more defensively and offensively. I'm talking about cut, like change direction, right? We're talking about 6'5" plus dudes changing direction all the time for 82 days in a year plus playoffs. When you watch a game back then, people got in their half-court sets and most people weren't moving. And if they were really jogging. Like, people didn't cut very hard and defenders didn't have to move a lot. Bitch, you couldn't even play help defense in the 90s, bro. Illegal defense was the wackest rule ever. Thank God they got rid of that in the early 2000s. But look, man, with each era, you gain something. Because, like, I will say, like, some of these players wouldn't sustain their style of play in the old NBA. Like, I think somebody like, I don't know, Donovan Mitchell, who just thrives off the space of the game, wouldn't be as good. But you put Giannis or LeBron in the old era, like, their game would translate. This video might need a part 2 because there's so much, like, I feel like I need to, like, get certain takes that I see that are poor and compile them, because I was just going all over the place. But real quick before I wrap this up, going back to the defense thing, the no defense in the NBA, what I encourage you to do next time you watch modern NBA, if you do, right, instead of, like, we naturally just look at who has the ball in their hands and what they're doing, watch the defenders, okay, and how much they have to move and the amount of rotations that need to be done in the modern NBA. All right, please do that. I encourage you, and you will understand what I'm talking about. Thank you very much. My name is Casual Mark. Have a good day.